And this is the second part of our video.
Question number 5.
How did you attract or address your audience?
Okay, so
Visual side of it.
when we were discussing this question, we split it into visuals and narrative. So, sorry. In relation to visuals, okay, firstly, we filmed on a location that is clearly well known. It is the London Underground, and I think we use the symbol of it within our film, so it is immediately
Very
evident.
iconic London.
It's iconic. It's iconic. Especially, I think if this film would be distributed maybe in America, it would appeal to a foreign audience.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So yeah.
Along with that, we had the colour grading, which provided a really rich colour and kind of managed to draw you further into the film rather than alienate you from it, which colder colours could have done.
Like, as you watch the film, I'm just gonna put this in here. As you watch the film, like me personally, I am drawn to the protagonist's hair. That sounds weird, but it's because like of the colour and like it just looks so golden, and it like obviously because she is the protagonist, like it just makes her stand out from the rest of the crowd. So.
It gives it a real like cinematic feel as well, so it's kind of, you actually feel like you're watching a film when you watch our opening. Well, at least that's what I thought anyway. It makes you smile as well.
I'd say the use of natural lighting as well. Personally, watching it, I think because a lot of Hollywood movies, they try to replicate the way I think the human eye sees things. So it's it seems like you're presented with reality, whereas this kind of the natural lighting it stood out, and the colours they were bright and strong and rich because of it, and I think it had a lot of shadow, and I think that really evoked our theme of isolation quite a lot, which I think did appeal, which I think would appeal to our target audience. Also, yeah, so again, it's an aspect of realism in our film, but it's like cinematic realism, as Kerry said, with the aspect ratio and with the colour grading. It has a cinematic feel. Okay, so in terms of narrative, our use of voiceover, we were told to be really careful with this because in films voiceovers can
drown out the visuals.
Yeah, they can sometimes give away too much information, so you're not drawn in by the voiceover
and distracting the audience as well.
Yeah, draw you out of the film world and into just what the voiceover is saying, and that can create kind of a barrier between the audience and the protagonist who is on screen.
It stimulates enigma as well. I think it was very well written, so well done.
You need to have a good balance of both visuals and narrative voiceover.
Yeah. The film also addresses mature issues, although we haven't explored all of these mature issues, which we would explore thoroughly throughout the film. That didn't make sense, did it? No. Okay.
Yeah, they're very mature issues that younger members of the audience wouldn't quite understand the depth of. For example, the idea of being so frustrated that you cannot convey your own thoughts. And that would almost be lost on some of the on some younger members of the audience, as I said.
Obviously the relationships between the main protagonist and the person who plays Isaac is left very open, so the audience sorry, there's a cat in the room. The audience are like they're left to like think of
their own interpretation.
Yeah.
So we didn't answer anything. We tried to leave the audience to be wanting to see more. We didn't.
Yeah, leave it very open to interpretation, so that they feel more engaged.
We established character, and we established a setting, but we didn't conclude anything. Like you were mentioning before, you showed your opening to to an audience member, and you mentioned how they raised.
Yeah, he seemed to raise the questions that we had intended to be raised, such as what is the map leading to, why can she not speak, and things like that, which is what we intended to do with the opening.
So our use of MacGuffin as well worked really well then.
Although with the audience feedback that we had from probably 12, 13-year-olds wasn't as positive as we'd have liked it, and it was also quite, as you were saying earlier, obviously they really don't understand the issues and things like that, so they're kind of questioning it a lot more, and they don't seem to understand the depth of it.
I think there's still interest in it, so it stimulates enigma.
We did get some interesting reviews, like she turns to drugs and things like that, so I don't think,
Yeah, so it stimulates enigma, but maybe it's not fully understood by a younger audience.
Yeah.
Okay, so shall we move on to the next question? Okay, question 6.
What have you learned about technologies from the process of constructing this product?
A lot.
Yes, we've learnt how to use Final Cut Pro better. Anyone else want to explain?
We've learned how to use a microphone as well, because we had it off for half of it, so we didn't have any sound.
As with Final Cut Pro, we've learnt how to use it in a more professional way rather than just doing basic editing, so like with things such as the colour grading and also matching up shots and things like that.
Aspect ratio.
Yeah.
And inserting credits as well, because although we did insert credits into our prelim task,
they weren't as professional.
Yeah, it wasn't professional, and the thing is that I think during our storyboarding as well, we thought a little bit about where the credits would go, like our initial establishing shots. We had this idea that they would be incorporated into the setting, but of course that didn't work out, so yeah, we had to work around that. Let's see, using the Canon camera, it was a definite plus, I think.
It was a different, like a very, very big change. And obviously using the different lenses as well, because we didn't just have a zoom in and zoom out lens, we obviously had to change the lenses if we wanted to change the distance from our subject. Yes, subject.
Yeah.
Also the change in from tape to SD card to analog to digital camera filming. Yeah.
Of course, having the more professional camera did mean that whilst on location we had a lot of equipment to carry around, and changing the lenses wasn't always the most practical thing to do.
Especially when you have like members of the public, you obviously don't want to obstruct their way or anything like that.
Also not make it too obvious that you've got these expensive pieces of equipment as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Music insertion also. Okay, but we inserted that in our prelim task, so technically we knew how to do that. Only this time I thought that the music worked really well, because when we inserted the track, I think by chance our
it automatically started where we wanted it to start, or like
I
slightly off point actually.
I wanted to say that the movements of the protagonist were in sync with the music. It was like when her tone of voice changed in the voiceover, the music then changed, an extra layer was added, which is a convention used in films. Like I think in Inglourious Bastards, like the music crescendoed at certain points.
When the titles came up. So
okay, it incorporated that convention. Okay, so
question
number
7. Yeah. Looking back at your preliminary task, what do you feel you've learned in the progression from it to the full product? Well, I think that actually everything's been done on a larger scale, because our prelim task was done mainly in school. Yeah, actually all in school, and we had to work around that basis, and that we had to go into school and we had to film in lesson time, or if we had freeze towards the end, we'd be able to film then. And now we've taken it to like the next level and kind of filmed in the underground.
Filmed on location and stuff, and there was a lot of problems like getting to the location, and obviously like because obviously we didn't want to waste loads of money, so we had to shoot everything all in one day, which means we had to keep on top of things and keep in time, like have a shot list and make sure we get everything before we go home. So that was quite challenging.
I think even thinking about the location was because initially we were told that it wouldn't be possible, and then we researched a little bit and we discovered that we could apply for a permit, which we did, and then I think there were financial problems, like we had only a certain time that we had to have the permit application filled in, so that process of being able to get permission to film was really difficult.
Of course, there were just general problems with getting to the location as well.
Yeah.
it would have helped for us to do more research into what was going on at the time, but of course there were train works at one of the big stations, meaning we had to take rail replacement bus services and things like that to get to Paddington, when we had originally chosen that station for its ease of getting to.
Yeah.
So that didn't help in the grand scheme of things.
No.
Although we were on time. to be
Yeah, we
fair.
were on time,
Yeah.
and I think the storyboard and having the shot list in the order of things that we were going to shoot really helped. I mean, I think at first it kind of took off a bit slowly, like it did with our prelim task.
Yeah.
But then once we
We
realised,
got into it. Yeah.
it got quicker as we went along, and once we realised the short amount of time that we had, we started just getting to it rather than hanging
Yeah.
around with the camera too much. See what else.
I think also just generally the fact that with our prelim task we had done very little preparation, we hadn't done as much research into other films and genres, whereas this task we went in a lot more prepared, and so we knew what to do, and I think our final product has come out better for that because it fits the conventions more and it just seems generally better made to a higher quality.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
not as
Yeah.
cheesy as our first one. Our first one was very, very cliched. Although I understand that it was meant to be as stereotypical as possible, but it was really in your face, and I think it was
Yeah.
a bit too
And like
much.
another problem that when we were on the location, we also had to choose places which we thought were like most suitable to fit the shot we wanted. And like obviously when there were crowds, we needed to shoot where there were crowds. Like we couldn't just shoot when there wasn't any because that wasn't part of our film. So there was a lot of difficulties trying to find the right place in Paddington to film, and the right time as well. I think it would have been better if we went at rush hours, like at 5 or 9 when people are coming from work, because I know that the station is very, very packed at that time.
The problem though is, although we created this project in a more professional way than we did our prelim task, we still had the restrictions of the fact that we only had certain days available to us that
Yeah.
we could go, because we had to spend time working on other subjects, and we only had a certain amount of money, and we'd already spent a lot on the permit. So yeah, and I think it would have also helped if we did a recce, which was recommended, but we didn't because of money problems and time again. Although we did have some images for our location research, so we could visualise in our minds. We just, it was the crowds that was the main issue. I
Yeah.
think we all agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also because London Underground is huge. I think
Yeah, there's-
it was a surprise to me that we ended up filming where we did, where the protagonist is walking down the tunnel.
Yeah.
Because I visualised it differently.
Yes, but that also showed that we could easily adapt to what we had.
Yeah.
We changed scenes given what we saw at the time. So, for example, our opening shots should have been with more crowds and have effects of soft focus and things like that. But we adapted that, and we still think that those shots work really well with
Yeah.
what we
There
were
are
able
still
to get.
crowds in our shots as well, so it's
Yeah.
alright, it worked well.
Yeah, and it still depicts the theme of isolation. So, which was our goal. So yeah, the end.
Thank you for watching!
I shall get up now.
He's just fun.